Professor Tilathara Vin, a distinguished xenobiologist at the Galactic Concordium University, had seen her share of cosmic oddities over her 4 centuries of teaching. Her crystalline exoskeleton shimmered under the lecture hall's bioluminescent lights, a testament to her Clitherian heritage, which thrived in the low-gravity environments of gas giant moons. She had catalogued the symbiotic songs of Altarian crystal singers, dissected the migratory patterns of vegan cloud drifters, and even survived a close encounter with a rogue swarm of Xanthari glow wasps. But nothing, not even the infamous venom storms of her homeworld, could have prepared her for the human exchange program. The humans, hailing from the notorious Class Thutooth Deathworld Terra, were an enigma wrapped in a paradox. Their planet was a cauldron of chaos, crushing gravity, volatile tectonics, and a biosphere where every organism seemed engineered for mutual annihilation. Yet, these Deathworlders had not only survived but thrived, building a civilization that baffled the galaxy with its resilience and audacity. When the Galactic Concordium announced the Interspecies Cultural Exchange Initiative, Tilathara had been cautiously optimistic. The humans, after all, had adapted remarkably well to academic life, their boundless curiosity and disarming friendliness winning over even the most skeptical faculty. But then came Companion Week. It's a simple tradition. Dean Zorath, a gelatinous Quellian with a penchant for bureaucracy, had assured her during a faculty meeting. His gills fluttered with enthusiasm as he projected holographic guidelines across the chamber. Each species brings a companion animal to share with their peers. The Altarians bring their crystal singers, the vegans their cloud drifters, the Xanthari their glow wasps. It fosters understanding, builds bridges, very educational. Tilethara's mandibles clicked skeptically. And the humans? What do they bring? Dean Zorath's bioluminescence dimmed slightly. They haven't specified, but they're excited. That's a good sign, yes? Tilethara should have known better. The humans' excitement was not a good sign. It was a warning. The lecture hall was a marvel of galactic engineering, its domed ceiling mimicking the nebulae of the Orion Spur, with floating platforms for students of varying gravities and atmospheric needs. On the first day of Companion Week, the room buzzed with anticipation. Altarian students hummed softly, their crystal singers perched on their shoulders, emitting harmonic vibrations that soothed the air. Vegan students floated in their containment suits, their cloud drifters trailing wisps of luminescent vapor. Even the Xanthari, usually reserved, glowed with pride as their glow wasps danced in synchronized patterns. Then the humans arrived. Marcus Chen was the first to stride through the irising doorway, his confident gait betraying no hint of the chaos he was about to unleash. In his arms, he carried a metallic transport cage, its mesh sides rattling with the movements of something large and alive. The Quellian students nearest the door froze, their gills snapping shut in unison, a biological alarm that sent a ripple of unease through the room. Tilethara's compound eyes narrowed as she detected a low, rumbling growl emanating from the cage. "Greetings, everyone," Marcus announced, his voice bright with enthusiasm. "Meet Rex, my best friend." With a flourish, he unlatched the cage. What emerged was a creature forged from the nightmares of a dozen star systems. Its massive frame was cloaked in sleek obsidian fur, rippling with muscle as it stepped onto the polished floor. Each paw, tipped with curved claws, clicked ominously against the surface. Its head was a study in predatory efficiency, a broad muzzle packed with serrated fangs, yellow eyes that scanned the room with unnerving intelligence, and ears that twitched at every sound. The creature's tail, a bushy appendage, swayed like a metronome, somehow amplifying its menace. "Sweet voids of eternity," whispered Zixtai, a Xanthari student whose bioluminescent patches flickered out entirely, plunging their corner of the room into darkness. "It's an apex predator." "Oh yeah," Marcus said, kneeling to scratch behind the creature's ears. "Rex is a German shepherd, bred for protection, tracking, you name it. He's a working dog, super loyal. The beast, Rex, responded by leaning into Marcus's touch, its massive jaws parting to reveal a lolling tongue. To Telethara's horror, the tail wagging intensified, sending a Vegan student scrambling to the safety of a higher platform. Telethara's primary appendage hovered over her emergency beacon, a wrist-mounted device linked to campus security. She hesitated, torn between protocol and curiosity. Before she could decide, the door hissed open again, and Sarah O'Malley bounded in, her arms cradling a smaller but equally unsettling carrier. "Sorry I'm late," Sarah chirped, her dark curls bouncing as she set the carrier down. Mittens was being a diva about her travel box. She opened the latch, and out slunk a creature that could only be described as a compact killing machine. Its fur was a striking pattern of orange and black stripes, its movements fluid and deliberate, like liquid death given form. Green eyes glinted with predatory focus as it surveyed the room, its tail flicking with calculated menace. "She's a tabby cat," Sarah said, scooping the creature into her arms. "Isn't she just the cutest?" The cat, Mittens, emitted a low, rumbling sound that Telethara's translator identified as a purr, though it sounded more like the prelude to a massacre. The Vegan delegation, already pressed against the far wall, began chattering in their native tongue, their translators spitting out phrases like solitary hunter and ambush predator. Telethara's mandibles quivered. "Miss O'Malley, please explain how this cat is safe for a classroom environment." Sarah blinked as if the question were absurd. "Oh, Mittens is a sweetheart. She only hunts like mice and stuff. Totally harmless unless you're a laser pointer." Before Telethara could process this, Jake Rodriguez sauntered in, clutching a cylindrical container that hissed faintly. "Hope nobody's got a phobia," he said with a grin, lifting the lid. What emerged was a sinuous nightmare, 6 feet of pure muscle, sheathed in shimmering scales that formed a diamond pattern. The creature, identified by Jake as Samson, my ball python, coiled around his arm with a casual strength that could have crushed a Quellian's exoskeleton. Its unblinking eyes locked onto a trembling Kellian student, who promptly activated their species' defensive ink spray, splattering the nearest wall. "Samson's chill," Jake assured the room, stroking the snake's head. "He only eats once a month and he's super gentle. Loves to cuddle." "Cuddle," Telethara repeated faintly, her bioluminescent markings pulsing erratically. She was about to demand the immediate removal of all human companions when the door opened one final time, and Emma Watson entered, cradling a glass terrarium that seemed to pulse with malevolent intent. "Sorry, Professor," Emma said, her voice soft but cheerful. "Charlotte was molting, so I had to make sure she was comfy." She lifted the lid, revealing an 8-legged monstrosity the size of a dinner plate. Its body was covered in what Emma called fluffy hair, though it looked more like a trap, designed to ensnare prey. Charlotte moved with the deliberate patience of a creature that knew its victims had no hope of escape. The classroom descended into pandemonium. Altarian students shattered their crystal singers in panic, sending harmonic shards flying. Vegans activated their emergency ascent protocols, rocketing to the ceiling. Xanthari glow wasps swarmed in a defensive frenzy, their bioluminescence painting the room in strobing panic. Telethara's emergency beacon finally activated, sending a shrill alert to campus security. But the chaos was far from over. And yet, amidst the bedlam, something extraordinary unfolded. Marcus knelt beside Rex, who sat obediently, his massive head tilted to receive more scratches. The dog's tongue lolled out, and he let out a contented huff, his yellow eyes softening as he leaned into his human. Sarah's cat, Mittens, leapt onto a desk and began grooming herself, her purring growing louder as Sarah cooed at her. Jake's python remained draped over his shoulders, its movement slow and deliberate, as if it trusted Jake implicitly. And Emma, unfazed by the fleeing students, allowed Charlotte to crawl up her arm, her fingers gently guiding the tarantula's path. "Don't understand," Telethara said, her voice trembling as she lowered her beacon. "These creatures, they're designed to kill. How are you not dead? Marcus looked genuinely puzzled. Dead? Why would we be dead? These guys are our family. Rex would take a bullet for me. Well, metaphorically. He saved my dad from Coyote once. He ruffled the dog's fur, and Rex responded with a playful nudge. Sarah chimed in, stroking Mittens. Cats basically domesticated themselves. They figured out humans are good for food and cuddles, so they stuck around. Mittens loves napping on my lap while I study. Jake nodded, his python now coiled loosely around his neck like a living scarf. Samson's never bitten anyone. He's just curious. Pythons are ambush predators, sure, but they're not out to hurt anyone unless they're starving. Emma held up Charlotte, who seemed to regard the room with an air of regal indifference. Tarantulas are super misunderstood. Charlotte's venom could maybe sting a bit, but she's more interested in crickets than people. She's my little artist. Look at the web she spins till Athara's mandibles hung slack. You form bonds with these predators? Of course, Emma said matter-of-factly. On Earth, survival meant teamwork. The most dangerous creatures learn to work together, not against each other. It's why we're here, why we've got spaceships and universities and all that. We're all predators in a way, but we choose to be partners. As campus security burst through the door, their stun batons at the ready, they froze at the sight before them. Rex was now lying on his back, playfully batting at a brave Altarian student who had ventured close enough to offer a tentative pat. Mittens was curled up on a desk, purring as a vegan student, emboldened by curiosity, hovered nearby. Samson remained draped over Jake, his scales glinting under the nebular lights, while Charlotte sat contentedly in Emma's hands, her legs twitching in what Tilithara could only assume was contentment. Tilithara sank into her chair, her crystalline exoskeleton dimming as she processed the scene. The humans hadn't brought pets. They'd brought allies, companions forged in the crucible of a death world where trust was the ultimate survival strategy. She scribbled a note in her datapad, her appendages trembling with a mix of awe and terror. Humans do not keep pets. They form symbiotic partnerships with apex predators, a trait that may explain their dominance and must be studied further. The aftermath of Companion Week became legend at Galactic Concordium University. Dilithara's report to the faculty senate sparked heated debates, with some calling for a ban on human companions and others advocating for a new field of study. The Xenobiology Department, under Tilithara's reluctant leadership, introduced a course the following semester, Interspecies Cooperation Among Deathworld Predators. It was an instant hit, with waitlists stretching across star systems. Students began to see the humans differently. The Altarians, once terrified, invited Marcus and Rex to their harmonic recitals, marveling as the dog howled in tune with their crystal singers. The Vegans, initially horrified by Mittens, began studying feline behavior, hypothesizing that their cloud drifters could learn from the cat's agility. Even the Zenthari, whose glow wasps had nearly caused a diplomatic incident, began collaborating with Emma on a project to compare tarantula webs to their own bioluminescent patterns. Tilithara herself became an unlikely advocate for the humans, her lectures now peppered with anecdotes about Terra's improbable ecosystem. She never quite warmed to Rex's enthusiastic slobbering or Charlotte's unsettling stare, but she couldn't deny the profound implications of what she'd witnessed. The humans had not just survived their death world, they had tamed it, not through force but through trust. As the semester drew to a close, Tilithara stood before her class, her exoskeleton glowing with renewed purpose. "The galaxy is vast," she said, her voice resonating through the lecture hall. "But perhaps the greatest lesson we can learn is from a small, violent planet called Terra, where the deadliest creatures chose partnership over predation. Let us take that lesson to the stars." And somewhere in the back of the room, Rex let out a contented bark, Mittens purred, Samson slithered, and Charlotte spun a web that shimmered like the nebulae above.